If you have a service dog, it's important for them to be able to tuck out of the way as needed. This could mean that you need to send them under a restaurant booth table to lay down before you sit down yourself, or you need them to tuck under a chair at the airport while waiting for a flight so that they don't get stepped on. Today, I'm going to show you how to teach your dog to tuck in a variety of scenarios, including how to curl up when space is limited. We'll be going over how to tuck under an object like a table or chair, as well as how to tuck under your legs if there's no room for them under your seat. From start to finish, I will show you all the steps that you need to get that lovely service dog tuck that makes people say, "Wow, I didn't even know there was a dog in here." Hi, I'm Laura from Doggy U, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, service dog trainer, and trick trainer that's been training and placing service dogs for the last 15 years. And today, I'm going to teach you to train your service dog to tuck like a pro, no matter the situation. Now, I want to start with a disclaimer. I'm not saying that you and your service dog shouldn't take up space. Your service dog deserves to be comfortable. But there's lots of situations where it's important for their safety and the safety of those around them that the dog be tucked and out of the way, teaching them to get small. So today I want to start with an exercise that teaches your dog how to tuck into tight spaces. Now, I get told all the time, my dog is too big to get small. But as someone who regularly flew with 65 to 95 pound German Shepherds under a standard size airplane seat, I can tell you that any dog can learn to tuck or to get as small as that dog allows. So it may not be a tiny ball the way a 30-pound dog will be able to fit into a tiny ball, but it'll be the smallest that your large dog can be. So to train this behavior, we're going to need some rectangular boxes of varying sizes. Usually for this, I use a suitcase because most people have one, or even Amazon boxes with the top flaps cut off. We want to start with a larger box, something that your dog could very comfortably lay in, and we're going to start shaping them to get into the box. If you're not familiar with shaping, I actually have a totally free foundational training mini course that you can take by just signing up for my newsletter at doggyu.com. But basically, shaping means breaking a behavior down into its tiniest components, building that behavior back up to the full behavior. So basically, if your dog looks at the box, you're going to mark with a click or a yes and feed your dog a cookie. And then if they look again, you're going to mark, reward. And then they take one step towards the box and you mark and reward that. 2 steps towards the box until they're putting a foot in the box, you mark and reward that until all of their feet are in the box. We're also going to have a start and end to this behavior, so once your dog runs into the box, you're going to give your release cue like free and toss a cookie away so that you set them up for the next rep of them running to the box. Once your dog is happily running to the box, you're going to ask for a down in that box. So they run to the box, you ask down, you mark and reward in position 3 times, so 3 times rewarding in that down, and then you give your release cue. If you want to see this essentially go-to-place behavior trained in real time, I actually have an entire video where I'm training this German Shepherd puppy to go to place and lay down, which is exactly what we're training here. We're just training it in a box. So if you want to check out that, I'll put it up here and in the comments and description below. Once your dog is now happily running to the box and laying down in this box that's bigger than the space your dog takes up, we're now going to be working on the progression of smaller and smaller boxes. So now we're going to take a box that's maybe 2 inches smaller on each side, retrain the entire thing in that smaller box, and then we're going to whittle it down until we have a smaller and smaller box that your dog eventually will have to curl up in. It's also helpful to teach them to relax on cue, basically to tip their hip. Relax.
Then we're down. Relax. Good.
I teach this outside of the box, but basically you're going to take a cookie, put it on your dog's nose, have them kind of nibble it out of your hand, and then draw that cookie towards their hip until their hip turns over or flops over. Some dogs are going to want to lie down in that sphinx position, that straight position, which isn't super conducive to this. We need to teach them to be able to roll onto their side so that they can eventually curl up. As you decrease the size of the boxes within reason, your dog will learn to tuck into a circle to be able to fit in that more confined space. Now it's time to generalize that skill, and I like to use a car for this because it's something that most people have available to them at some point, and it has a defined tucking space, which you'll eventually be able to generalize to an airplane. So when you sit in the passenger side wheel well or back seat of a car, you only have a small amount of space for your dog to be able to tuck, so it's kind of mimicking that box thing that we've been doing. You're going to start by asking your dog to wait while you sit on the seat with one leg out of the car. Then you're going to ask the dog to hop in and then bring your second leg into the car. Be sure to tuck the tail and protect the dog with your outside leg as you close the door.
Denver, up. Good job. Good. Denver, down. Yes. Good boy, buddy.
And hey, if you're getting value from this video so far, I would love it if you could head on down and boop that like button. Doing so positively reinforces me for making these videos and lets me know that you want more of them. Under an object. Next, we're going to focus on teaching your dog to get under something and lay down. If your dog doesn't have a go to place and lay down behavior yet, like I said, you can watch that video with that little German Shepherd puppy, or you can head on over to patreon.com/doggyu, where I have the progression of teaching this to John Denver.
Awesome.
Once the dog can go to place and lay down, I practice this under a table with a mat. I try to choose a higher table with lots of space underneath. Ideally, the legs are on the side so that the middle area is left open, and I find things like folding tables work really well for this. Once the dog is going to place under the table on my go to place cue, I actually start switching the cue to under, as I'll eventually be removing the mat from the training. Then I add barriers like chairs or whatever else you have laying around that causes the dog to have to move through tighter and tighter spaces to go under and lay down. Under, down. Under, down. Over, under, down. Then I start the process over with no obstacles and without the mat. So I'm simply fading the mat from the equation. Then I add the obstacles back in to make sure he can go under with no mat and the obstacles in the way. Then, as in all things, we want to generalize to 10 different locations, training it from the beginning so that the dog understands that this behavior can happen anywhere. And hey y'all, if you're enjoying these videos and want to support the work that I do here, as well as get access to my uncut training sessions and more than 200 Patreon exclusive videos, please join my Patreon at patreon.com/doggyu. Membership starts at just $4 and you'll even get access to my live monthly Q&As. I'd love to have you as a doggyu member, and a big thank you to my patrons who make these videos possible. Tucking under your legs. I love to teach a dog to tuck under my legs. This keeps them out of the way in spaces where going under a table or chair isn't an option. Plus, most dogs find this behavior to be super fun. Note that when we're training this behavior, we want our dogs to actually come all the way through, go under your legs, and come out the other side. Many dogs will choose to back out of position, which tends to, over time, make it so that they don't get their head all the way through, and thus they're not really in the correct position. That being said, when I see a dog that doesn't come all the way through, a lot of times it's because the dog is concerned about being in such a tight space. So before we start tucking under the legs, we're actually going to do an exercise where the dog is just between you and the wall with you in standing position. At this point, it's important to mention pressure. Everything around your dog exerts some form of pressure on them, whether it's the table, the chair, the wall, or even their handler. And some dogs are just more sensitive to pressure than others. So this exercise is going to help your dog be more comfortable in a tighter space. Start by standing facing a wall with enough space for your dog to easily be able to pass between and lay at your feet. You're gonna start by just tossing a cookie back and forth so the dog runs between you and the wall without stopping. You may need to use barriers to help. Next, if you have a hand touch, have them come between you and the wall and touch your hand, or stop them with a cookie if you don't have a hand touch. Then release them with a find it cue. After that, you'll have them stop and down between you and the wall and then release them. Remember that our stationary behavior always has a release so the dog doesn't just decide to get up whenever they feel like it.
Yes. Find it. Good. Denver, touch. Down. Yes. 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 Find it.
All of this prep will help them become more comfortable in a more confined space. Next, we'll teach them to go under your legs. Here we'll want to sit in a chair, basically on the edge of the seat, so that there's lots of space for your dog to lay down under your legs. Now you can either lure them under your legs, have them touch your hand, or even use a target stick if you're not able to bend over. Mark when they reach your hand and feed. Feed in position several times and then use your release cue. Remember that having a release cue is really important.
Denver, under. Yes. free.
If your dog tucking under your legs doesn't work for you, or you want to have options, you can also teach the close cue. I did a full video on that I will drop down in the comments section. The close cue works really well if the dog has to come in from the front and there isn't room for him to come in from the sides. Now, once they're in these positions, teaching them to settle is a whole nother topic. But I am creating a course on that right now. So if you want to get notified when the pre-sale is live, make sure you sign up for my newsletter at doggyu.com. That'll give you the latest news and access to the big pre-sale discount. All right, y'all, if you liked this video, you're gonna love this one too. So you should click on it now. You all have an awesome day and happy training.